Hello, Savages. Today I'm going to show you how the build goes on the Terminator Captain from the Warhammer 40k Ultimate Starter Set. As always, if this is proving useful, hit like and leave any comments or questions you have. I'll try and address those after the video is done. Okay, so here is our frame. This is your usual character one-shot. Now, the way they have this built, it's in a couple of stages. They're actually having you build the body in sort of horizontal slices. You're putting, the front with one leg and the middle with another leg, and you're putting the back with the cape together. Fairly straightforward, nothing really to focus on here. Just do a good job on the clipping and cleanup, and you're pretty well all set. If you haven't seen this, by the way, I keep an X-Acto around that is more or less dull because this works better than any mold line scraper. It will take off some of the more defined pieces of flash or trimming off the sprue that's left over, and it's generally one of the more useful things I have for just cleaning up small little detailed areas like this, things you might not be able to get a file into. I do recommend it. Just when you have an X-Acto, if you can afford to have more than one, if you're not just kind of using whatever you have, that'll work. Otherwise, you can use the side of a file or an emery board, or even come back in with nippers. If there's a really hard to reach part, and there were a couple of these on here, more so on the fronts of the legs and on the arms later on. Don't be afraid to leave more of the sprue on the part you're clipping off and then come at it and trim it later. That's really not a bad thing. Remember, you want the model to look good. You don't really care what happens to the frame. Now you're going to see here I'm dry fitting these together. There are a couple of different places where the frame connection, or where it's connected to the sprue, is a little bit weird. So before I glued this, I just made sure that I had that cleaned up, everything fit snug. Then I went ahead and applied some Tamiya limonene cement and put those together. The two parts of the body go together first, then it goes into the back, the shoulder piece, whatever you want to call it, with the cloak. Very straightforward here. Really nothing difficult, nothing that doesn't fit intuitively. It's just fairly simple to do. Now here's one of the parts, like I'm saying, I'm trimming out the sword arm and the shoulder panel at this point. And these have some really fragile connections. One of them is kind of hanging off the frame, so do be careful that you aren't missing anything when you open this up. But be careful when you're trimming these off, because there are small little details. There's a cable on the sword, there's the pommel itself. One of the points of connection is right along the blade. You don't want to mess that up too much. Just be careful, and like I said, if you need to take off more of the frame than the part you're trying to clip out, you can clean that up later like I'm doing here. Now here is one point where I did something very wrong. So the assembly of the arms, they basically have the arm itself, and then you have the shoulder pad, which is actually connecting both of them together. Now, like a genius here, you can see me put glue on the arm, and I don't know how that's actually going to sit on the model. It doesn't really slot in, it doesn't fit perfectly here, until you actually put the shoulder pad on, and the shoulder pad fits right to the arm portion. So wrong sequence. It will go together. It will fit. It turns out okay, but the easier way to do it is what I'm about to do with the storm bolter here. Now the storm bolter is again one of these points where you want to cut out more of the frame, because it gets it too much into the nook and cranny of the model itself, and then snip it off later. Most of the Terminators in this kit, the storm bolter barrels are in halves, and you'll be putting those together. And there's flash right on those, so make sure you do a good job cleaning that up so you can put that gun together and have it look correct. A little bit of glue and the halves fit perfectly together. Nice clean joint. Alright, so like I said with the power sword arm, the way to do this is to take the shoulder pad and actually attach that to the shoulder armor, the arm, whichever way you're looking at that itself first, because these will go together snugly. They have join points. There's only one way they fit, and then you can actually put the whole thing onto the model. It wasn't really clear in the instructions, so it's a bit to ensure the model goes together correctly, and it will save you guys a little bit of trouble. And Games Workshop is definitely not sponsoring me on this. I have no backup, no payment, no nothing. I'm just giving you guys free advice, being a good Samaritan, doing them a favor. They have no idea who the hell I am, so there you go. Okay, so last big assembly here is we are going to clip off the shin armor and the feet, basically, and these just slot right into pegs on the legs themselves. Both of them actually have pegs that go down into the base portion, so you don't want to chop those off. Be very careful on the frame when you're going at these. And other than that, you have the head. Very small piece. Be careful that this does not go flying off the sprue, and just take your time cleaning that up. You don't want to go at it, too crudely, otherwise you'll kill detail on the head itself, and your guy will look like Freddy Krueger, which may or may not be what you want, so careful. Now doing the head, you might honestly want something like a little bit of forceps or tweezers or something to grab the head. It's just kind of fiddly. You can't really get it wrong. Even if you cut out the peg and just kind of glue it in there, that'll still turn out okay. Really not too bad. And last but not least is the big honkin' base with some dead Tyranid on it. This is one of the bigger base pieces that I've ever seen. I think they're really just hamming up the captain with this. Now, again, I did this in a weird sequence. It does fit into the 50mm base there. There's a little bit of flash to clean up, as you can see me doing here. But the thing I did wrong on this is I put that on the base and then I tried gluing the model to it, and it's really hard to get a gauge of how much you can press the model and get the 2 feet pegs into the holes there. I recommend you do this, put the model onto the diorama part of the base first, and then put that onto the 50mm base. You're just going to get better contact. You'll have a little more control over it. You won't be worried about, snapping something, or just get rid of the pegs altogether. And there you have it. There is our Terminator captain in all his plasticky glory. So, again, if you found this helpful, please do leave a like, leave any comments with questions, subscribe if you want to see more. I'm probably doing the Leapers next, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Take it easy.